Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. You guys sent in a whole bunch of articles all about HMB, and we thought it would be really interesting to kind of go through them together, see what the science really says about this supplement that everyone's talking about.
Right.
So
it's supposed to be like this miracle muscle builder.
Right? Like build muscle, increase strength.
Especially for older adults, I'm seeing a lot of stuff about that.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Like age-related muscle loss. Can HMB help with that?
Yeah. Is it hype or hope?
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to figure out.
Exactly.
So to help us break it all down, we've got our expert here.
Everybody.
Who's awesome at like sifting through all the research and, giving us the bottom line.
Yeah, and hopefully some context for like how to actually apply this stuff
Exactly.
to like real life.
Not just what's happening in the lab.
Right.
Cool. So why don't we just jump right in? What is this stuff?
All right, so HMB,
Which stands for?
β-hydroxy-β-methylbutyrate. Yeah, super catchy. I know.
Easy to remember.
That's why we all just call it HMB.
Yeah.
But basically, it's a metabolite of an essential amino acid called leucine.
Leucine. Okay, so I know some of our listeners are like super into fitness. They know all this stuff.
Right.
But for anyone who's, oh, wait, hold on, back up.
Yeah.
What is leucine? What are we talking about?
Yeah, so basically leucine is one of those essential amino acids.
Okay.
Like a building block of protein
that
our bodies can't make on their own.
Gotcha.
So we have to get it from food.
Okay.
And leucine is really important for building muscle.
Okay. How so?
Because it plays a key role in stimulating muscle protein synthesis.
Muscle protein synthesis. Now, is that just like a fancy way of saying building muscle?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
So like when you work out, you create these tiny little tears in your muscles.
Right.
And then muscle protein synthesis is how your body repairs those tears and makes the muscles bigger and stronger.
Gotcha. So leucine is like a key player in that whole process.
It's like the trigger that sets off the muscle building process.
Okay, so where does HMB fit into all of this? If leucine's the trigger, what's HMB doing?
So HMB is kind of like a protector.
Okay.
It might help to reduce muscle protein breakdown.
So that's the opposite of muscle protein synthesis.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like when your body breaks down muscle tissue for energy.
Oh, so it's like protecting those gains you've worked so hard for.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool, especially for like people who are, getting older.
Right.
And naturally starting to lose some muscle mass.
Exactly.
Use it or lose it, they say.
And there's some research to back this up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's this one study, they looked at older men who were doing resistance training.
Okay.
And the guys who were taking HMB, they saw a significant increase in their thigh lean mass.
Wow. Compared to
the guys who weren't taking HMB.
So like they actually gained more muscle.
It seems that way.
That's huge. I mean, maintaining muscle mass as we age is like...
It's so important.
Yeah, it's not just about like looking good.
No.
It's about being able to like move around.
Stay functional.
Stay independent.
Yeah, exactly.
Quality of life.
Big time.
Yeah.
So it sounds like this could be a real game changer for, older adults.
That's promising.
Who are trying to stay active and strong.
Yeah. Definitely.
But, I mean, we got to be real. It's not just older folks who are interested in building muscle, right?
Oh, yeah.
HMB is getting a ton of buzz in the athletic world, too.
For sure. Athletes are always looking for that edge.
Right.
That extra boost.
Yeah. And I was looking at some of the research you sent.
Yeah.
And there's some pretty wild stuff in there.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there was this study on elite rowers who were taking HMB and creatine.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Now, creatine, that's another supplement.
Yeah, it's popular.
That's supposed to, like, help with power and strength, right?
Yeah, it helps your muscles produce more energy.
Okay.
During, like, short bursts of high-intensity activity.
Like weightlifting.
Weightlifting, sprinting.
Okay, gotcha. That kind of thing.
So what happened with these rowers?
So the rowers who were taking both HMB and creatine, they saw a huge increase in their aerobic power.
Wow.
Compared to the guys who were just taking one or the other.
So it was like they worked better together.
Yeah, it's like this synergistic effect.
Synergistic.
Yeah, like the combined effect is greater than the sum of their individual effects.
That's so cool. So it's not just about taking one or the other. It's about like
the combo.
The power of the combo.
Yeah, like 1 + 1 = 3.
I like that.
Yeah.
So it's like creatine's giving you that power boost.
Uh-huh.
And then HMB is like protecting your muscles.
Yeah, maybe preventing some of that breakdown.
From all that intense training.
Right, exactly.
Wow, that's fascinating. And, you mentioned aerobic power.
Yeah.
And I know you sent some research looking at HMB and its effects on VO2 Max.
Right, VO2 Max.
Now, I know that's a term that gets thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
But for those of us who maybe aren't like exercise science nerds,
right,
can you break down what VO2 max actually is?
Yeah, so VO2 max is basically a measure of how well your body uses oxygen during exercise.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a gauge of your fitness level.
So the higher your VO2 max, the fitter you are?
Basically.
Okay.
It means your body's really good at taking in oxygen and using it to fuel your muscles.
So like a more efficient engine.
Exactly.
That can go further and faster.
Yeah. And there's some evidence that HMB might actually improve VO2 max.
Oh, really?
Yeah, one study, actually, it was a systematic review.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
For anyone who's like, what's a systematic review?
So it's basically like a super study
Okay.
where they look at all the existing research on a topic.
So it's like a study of studies.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Gives you a bigger picture.
Gotcha.
And this particular review on HMB and endurance performance,
Okay.
it suggested that HMB might have a positive impact on VO2 max,
Interesting.
but the effect might be small.
Okay.
More research is needed.
So it's not like a guaranteed boost,
Yeah.
but it's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, especially for endurance athletes.
You're trying to optimize their performance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Always looking for those little advantages.
Right. So we've talked about what HMB is.
Mm-hmm.
Its potential benefits for muscle growth in older adults.
Right.
How it might enhance athletic performance.
Especially with creatine.
Especially with creatine. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
But we're not done yet. We've got more to explore, including HMB's potential in other areas like
Right.
fighting muscle loss and serious health conditions. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay, so we're back, and we've been talking all about like the potential upside of HMB.
Yeah.
But, you know, with any supplement, you always got to wonder, like,
Right.
what's the catch? Are there any downsides?
Right. Are there any risks?
Yeah, is there anything to be cautious about?
Yeah. It's a good question. And, like you said, anytime you're taking something,
Right.
it's always good to be a little bit cautious.
Especially something new.
Yeah. And, one thing that stands out to me is that, like, even though HMB seems to be safe
Okay.
for most people, like, based on the research we have so far,
Uh-huh.
the long-term effects
Okay.
haven't really been studied that thoroughly yet.
So, like, we don't really know?
Yeah, we're still kind of in the early stages of understanding
Okay.
what happens when people take this stuff for like years and years.
So the research is promising,
Uh-huh.
but there's still a lot we don't know
Yeah, exactly.
about the long-term effects.
And everybody's different.
Right?
So like what works for one person might not work for
Yeah.
someone else.
Yeah, that's true with, like, anything, really.
Right? Our bodies are complex.
Yeah.
Genetics, lifestyle, overall health, like all these things can play a role.
It's like how some people can drink coffee all day and sleep like a baby,
Right.
and other people, like, have one cup and they're, like, bouncing off the walls.
Exactly.
So, yeah, we're all different.
We're all unique snowflakes.
And supplements can affect us differently.
For sure.
And speaking of which, I'm curious about dosage. Yeah.
Because the research we were looking at, they use like all different doses of HMB.
Well, different studies, different doses.
So is there like a magic number? Like how much should people be taking?
It's tough to say. There's no one-size-fits-all answer.
Okay.
But the research suggests like around 3 grams a day
Okay.
might be a good starting point
Okay.
for most people.
But it really depends.
It depends on your body weight, your training intensity, if you have any other health conditions.
Right.
It's always a good idea to talk to your doctor.
Especially if you're taking any other medications.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, before you start adding new supplements.
Definitely.
Now, you mentioned earlier that some of the studies have shown like mixed results
Yeah.
with HMB.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it seems to work really well,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes not so much.
Right.
Why do you think that is?
Well, like we said, individual responses can vary a lot.
Okay.
But beyond that,
Yeah.
there's a lot of factors that can influence the outcomes of these studies.
Like what?
Like the study design,
Okay.
the specific population they're studying,
Right.
the type and intensity of the exercise they're doing.
Right. It's not just as simple as like HMB works or it doesn't.
Exactly.
It's more nuanced than that.
It's about context.
Right. And plus, science is always evolving.
It is.
Like what might seem like a contradiction in one study
Uh-huh.
might be explained by another study later on.
Right. That's why it's so important to look at the big picture.
Right. Like the whole body of research.
Yeah, not just one study in isolation.
Now, I want to circle back
Yeah.
to those elite rowers we were talking about.
Yeah, those guys.
The ones who saw that crazy synergistic effect with HMB and creatine.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit more about like what might be happening there physiologically?
Yeah. So, like, we know that creatine enhances energy production in your muscles.
Okay.
So, like, it gives your muscles more fuel to work with.
Okay.
And then HMB, like we said, might protect muscle tissue from breakdown.
So it's like creatine is powering up the muscles.
And HMB is, like, protecting them
Yeah, like a shield almost.
from getting damaged.
Right.
From all that intense training.
Exactly. It's a powerful combo.
That's pretty cool.
It is.
Now, earlier we touched on HMB's potential in fighting muscle loss.
Right.
In more serious health conditions like cancer cachexia.
Cancer cachexia.
Can you tell us a little bit more about like what the research says about that?
Yeah, so cancer cachexia is basically this condition that causes muscle wasting in people with cancer.
Okay.
And it can be really debilitating.
Yeah.
And HMB, it's not a cure or anything.
Okay.
But there's some research suggesting that it might help to slow down that muscle loss.
So it's about like giving those patients a fighting chance to maintain their strength.
Right, because muscle loss isn't just a cosmetic issue. It can really affect your quality of life.
Your ability to do everyday things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it can even affect your prognosis.
Wow. So it's really important to maintain that muscle mass.
Absolutely.
Especially when you're going through something as challenging as cancer.
Yeah. And, you know, it's not just cancer cachexia.
Okay.
HMB might be beneficial in other conditions, too.
Like what?
Like AIDS COPD.
Sarcopenia.
Even age-related sarcopenia.
Sarcopenia.
Yeah. Which is just the natural muscle loss that happens as we get older.
Right.
So it seems like maintaining muscle mass is important for everyone.
Yeah. Regardless of age or health status.
Exactly. It's crucial for overall health and well-being.
Okay, now before we wrap up this part of our HMB deep dive, I want to talk about something that comes up a lot when we're talking about supplements. The placebo effect.
Oh, yeah.
You know, could it be that some of the benefits people are seeing with HMB are just because they believe it's going to work?
It's a good question. And it's something researchers have to think about when they're designing these studies.
So how do they try to minimize that placebo effect?
One way is to do these double-blind studies.
Yeah.
So neither the participants nor the researchers know who's getting the real HMB and who's getting a placebo.
So it's like a dummy pill.
Yeah, basically.
So they're keeping everyone in the dark.
Yeah, so you can't be biased.
Gotcha. So that helps to make sure that the effects they're seeing are actually due to the HMB.
Yeah. And not just because people think it's going to work.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
We've talked about the science behind HMB, potential benefits,
safety considerations,
dosage,
placebo effect.
We even talked about like the ethical consideration.
Oh, right. Is it cheating?
Exactly.
If athletes use it.
But there's one more piece of the puzzle that we need to talk about, and that's HMB's potential role in injury recovery and rehab.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
So stay tuned for the final part of our deep dive. Okay, so we're back for the final part of our HMB deep dive.
All right.
And we've talked about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we've covered a lot.
The science, the potential benefits, the safety stuff.
Dosages, all that.
Yeah, all the things you need to know.
Right.
If you're thinking about taking HMB. But now I kind of want to zoom out a little bit. And look at some of the bigger questions.
The big picture stuff.
Yeah, like how does HMB fit into the whole conversation around sports performance?
Right.
And like ethics, you know?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Because it's not like banned by any major sporting organization.
But it's not on the list.
But it definitely makes you wonder, like, does it give athletes an unfair advantage?
Right. Where do you draw that line?
Yeah, like what's considered acceptable
for enhancing performance?
And what's like straight up cheating?
Exactly.
It's a tough one.
It is.
Because you could argue that like if supplement is safe and it's available to everyone.
Right, everybody has access.
Then it's fair game.
Yeah.
But then other people might say like, no, anything that artificially boosts your performance is like going against the spirit of competition.
The spirit of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough question.
There's no easy answer.
No.
And it gets even trickier when you start talking about HMB's potential role in injury recovery.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
Right, because we've been talking about how it can help protect muscles from breaking down
during training.
So it makes sense that it could also help athletes recover.
Yeah, like heal faster.
Yeah, bounce back from injuries more quickly.
Exactly.
So is there any research to support that?
There is some. It's still early.
Okay.
But there are a few studies that suggest that HMB might help to reduce muscle damage, inflammation, and pain after injuries.
So it's like speeding up the healing process?
Yes, potentially.
But again, more research is needed.
Always more research.
So, okay, we've explored the science, the potential benefits, the safety, the ethics.
We've covered a lot.
We've looked at HMB's role in muscle growth, athletic performance.
Injury recovery?
Yeah, and a whole bunch of stuff.
Whole spectrum.
But I guess the big question is like, what does all this mean for you?
Right, for the listener.
Yeah, like if you're listening to this and you're like, I wonder if HMB is right for me.
Should I try it?
Yeah, like what should you do?
Well, I think the main takeaway here is that HMB is promising.
Okay.
But it's not a magic bullet.
Right. It's not going to like
turn you into Superman.
Yeah, it's not going to suddenly give you like
six-pack abs.
Yeah. Or make you run a marathon.
Overnight.
Yeah, you still got to put in the work.
Absolutely.
You still got to train, you got to eat right, you got to sleep.
All the basics.
Yeah, it's about optimizing, not replacing your efforts.
You know, it's also important to remember that everyone responds to these things differently.
Right.
So what works for your buddy might not work for you.
Yeah. And there's still so much we don't know
about the long-term effects.
Right.
And like the best ways to use HMB.
So I guess as we wrap up this deep dive, the final thought I want to leave you with is like, if HMB seems to work best when it's part of a bigger picture, like when you're training,
eating right, sleeping, all that good stuff.
What does that ideal stack look like for you?
Yeah. What are your goals?
Yeah. What are you trying to achieve?
You trying to build muscle?
Improve your endurance.
Go over from an injury.
Yeah, like those are all questions that you need to ask yourself.
Before you decide if HMB is right for you.
And then do your research.
Yeah.
Talk to your doctor.
Maybe a registered dietitian.
Yeah, experiment a little bit.
Find what works for you.
Yeah, your journey doesn't end here.
Keep learning. Keep exploring.
That's what the deep dive is all about.
That's right.
So thanks for joining us on this exploration of HMB.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody.
And we'll catch you next time for another deep dive.